Moved by Councillor Arola, seconded by Councillor Moffat. Resolved that the regular meeting commence at the hour of 7 p.m. And be it further resolved that Council acknowledges that we are meeting in the Robinson Superior Treaty Area on lands that have been traditionally used by several Indigenous nations. But we would like to pay special recognition to our closest Indigenous neighbours, the communities of Bittergaw, Anishinaabe, and Pic-Bober First Nations. We wish to recognize the long history of the First Nations and Métis people in our region specifically and show respect to them today. All in favour? Carried. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move to the disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof. Seeing none. Moved by Councillor Moffat, seconded by Councillor Arola. Resolved that the agenda be approved as circulated. All in favour? Thank you. The next item on our agenda is delegations and presentations, so we ask Mr. Baker and Mrs. Baker to please commence.
So first we'd like to just begin with thanking Mayor McEachern and fellow councillors, Mr. Roland, Ms. Hudson, Mr. Moffat, Mrs. Cavanagh, for taking the time to listen to our presentation this evening. My name is Aaron Baker. I'm the Vice President of Manitowoc Minor Hockey Association, and this is Carly Baker, our Registrar. Unfortunately, our President Ryan couldn't be here tonight as he is at work. Other members of our board are listed in the package that we sent to you last week. I hope you guys have had some time to review the information that we compiled. The purpose of the information is simply for background of Manitowoc minor hockey programming and additional support for why our group is joining you guys tonight. Let's start with a brief overview of Manitowoc Minor Hockey Association. Our objectives are to form, operate, and improve organized hockey for players between the ages of 3 to 17 under the guidelines of Hockey Canada and Hockey Northwestern Ontario. All of the programs we offer are set up to be delivered by volunteer community members. On the top of this list are board members, and we also provide coaches, trainers, managers, canteen managers, cooks, and servers. All of these people give their time to get certified to be part of our association. Manitowoc Minor Hockey is a non-profit group that is privileged to charge our members minimal registration fees because of grant money, sponsorship, and fundraising. Additional money gained helps us to pay for equipment, host special events such as power skating and hockey camps, and train our volunteers, update our equipment, and much, much more. Our association hosts exhibition games and tournaments, which brings people into our community. Please note we will often go out of our way to bring teams in during special community events such as the craft fair. Manitowoc Minor Hockey works alongside the Community Service Department to create a fair arena schedule. Over the last 7 years, the Community Service Department has granted us a space to host a canteen. The canteen is run by volunteers and has become a crucial part of our annual revenue for MMHA. And we cannot thank the Community Service Department enough for giving us this opportunity. Many of you think hockey may start when the weather begins to get cold, but please take a minute to look at some of the pages in the steps of setting up a minor hockey season, which we submitted early last week. All of this gets done behind the scenes over months before the players even begin to skate. Once players, teams, and coaches are registered, Hockey Northwestern Ontario will approve our plans and grant us insurance. This leads us to offering players 4 hours of truck. Of arena ice. Also discussed the community department. The information we provided you last week, what we presented to you tonight, is clear that everything our group puts forward cannot happen without the commitment by the Township of Manitowoc to provide a functional arena ice surface. Our members are very dedicated to create the best possible opportunities for all of our players, new and old. Every fall, the board reaches out to the community services for a skating date to allow ample time for us to register players, set up and train coaching staff, and apply for insurance. Generally, the responses are optimistic. Sometimes the responses are disappointing. Our disappointment arises from being told that it's too warm outside to properly develop the ice surface, being told the community center is understaffed, thus does not have the manpower dedicated to making the ice. Other building maintenance has trumped ice surface making, equipment tests leading to maintenance requirements right before the beginning of the hockey season, the arena roof leak causing problems with ice in early October. The arena needs dehumidifiers to assist with ice development, but this is not something the township can support. The season being told that the demand of COVID-19 restrictions and guidelines might be too overwhelming to provide safe use for the community center. Manitowoc Minor Hockey is not sharing their disappointment or past concerns with you as a means of creating negative attention or to point blame. Also, we are aware that some issues with ice development cannot be foreseen. The reason we are sharing these concerns, plus the concerns listed in the information earlier provided, is for the sole purpose to move forward in resolving these issues that slow down ice development and sustainability in Manitowoc. Tonight, councillors and mayor, we ask you to consider the community center as a high priority within our community. Some suggestions we bring forward. To generate a policy or procedural guide for seasonal community services that list specific dates when services should be planned, set up, and available. For example, what might be included in this guide is, in April, the Community Service Department is required to contact Simcoe to ensure the booking for the Simcoe to visit our community center for pre-planned services and regular startup of the season to ensure Simcoe is meeting upon our agreed-upon contract that is budgeted and planned over a 5-year contract with them. With new staff turnover at the township office and in the community center, these policies or procedural guides might assist with consistency in community programming services. The second, large financial investments to community center upgrades to assist with changing weather conditions. The possibility of reaching out to surrounding communities with similar weather patterns to see how their facilities can host ice in September or even early October with minimal complications. See if other communities receive any other grants or additional funding to support an upgrade, and knowledge from other communities on what is needed to create functional ice early in the fall might allow for better budgeting of funding for these upgrades. The third point we bring to you is training for the community center staff. Staff can be sent to ice installation training and other ice maintenance courses. Is it possible that our new staff be given the opportunity to visit other communities, to work with more experienced recreational attendees to gain knowledge and hands-on experience? Is it possible to bring community staff from other members from other communities to help with training or assist with ice development? The fourth point, follow-ups between the community center and community service department and council to ensure commitments are followed through upon. For example, on July 28, 2017, Council approved OCWA to supply and install a new fountain filling station and a plaque in the community center to provide water for the kids to use to drink. What is the timeline on this? In March 2020, the community center was closed and this fountain still was not installed. Uniquely to this coming season, what kind of support can be offered to ensure COVID-19 guidelines can be met so that our community service department can open and operate the community center over the 2021 season? You may refer to the Manitowoc Minor Hockey COVID-19 operational guidelines we provided last week as a reference to support and our communication log with the township to show our volunteer support. In the end, Manitowoc Minor Hockey will continue to share the voices of our members. We will continue to pressure and push the town to ensure services are in place for our community to use. Our dedication in the end is driven by the fact that our members always end the hockey season with a genuine love for the game. Everything is for opportunity for our children, for the community. Let's ensure this pride is continued. In summary, we will end with repeating the reason why we are here tonight. Manitowoc Minor Hockey is here addressing you, Mayor McEachern, and fellow councillors to discuss our community's late annual development of Arena Ice and also discuss ideas that the Community Service Department might not be able to develop ice for the 2021 season. Sincerely, the Manitowoc Minor Hockey Board, on behalf of President Ryan McKinnon.
Thank you. Now, are there any questions from councillors? Shelley, do you have any comments to make about the presentation?
I probably addressed most of it in my admin report.
Okay. Do you want to speak about the fact that we spoke today to other communities and what they may be doing with the...
Yeah, it's all over the map and stuff about COVID and arenas and what's going on. And the reason we met with the group, I think it was 2 weeks ago now, we met with the group, is that the COVID problems are dynamic. And we just wanted to make everybody aware of that situation and the impact to operations. So I know minor hockey, locally and collectively, as an organization, has put a lot of work in and has a lot of planning. That's only one user of our facilities. So we have to look at the whole operation, and their program and their organization has certainly done their background work to get their program ready.
I'm good.
So, okay, generally what happens is we get a presentation from people and then we take that and thank you very much for the presentation and ask our administration to give us a reply to that before we as a council sit down and make a decision on it. So, unfortunately, we can't make the decision tonight, but we certainly are very pleased about the presentation you made, and nobody wants to see hockey not be in the community, obviously. That's not what we want. We want to work as hard as we can to make sure we get something so that the children in the community will be able to play a sport. So hopefully we'll get back to you with some kind of answer in the next, our next meeting is in 2 weeks?
I guess so, yeah.
There is an agenda item later on today's agenda to this topic and an admin written report from the program.
Oh, so you have an admin report?
We're ready.
Okay.
It's on the agenda as an
All
agenda
right.
item later on, and a report from Shelley already.
Okay. So, in the meantime, moved by Councillor Moffat, seconded by Councillor Roll, resolved that Council is in receipt of the presentation provided by Kelly Baker and Aaron Baker of the Manitowoc Minor Hockey Association regarding the Manitowoc Community Centre Arena for the 2020-2021 winter season. And be it further resolved that Council thanks the above noted representative for attending and providing the presentation to Council. All in favor? Thank you. And that's all we can give you right now, but we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Okay?
And we thank you for your time and for everything that everybody does. So have a great night, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.
We'll also forward the information we included today with our presentation so you guys can take a look too.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moved by Councillor Moffat, seconded by Councillor Roll, resolved that the minutes of the regular meeting held on September 23rd, 2020 are adopted as circulated. All in favor? Moved by Councillor Roll, seconded by Councillor Moffat, resolved that the minutes of the special meeting held on September 30th, 2020 are adopted as circulated. All in favor? Moved by Councillor Roll, seconded by Councillor Moffat. Resolved that correspondence item number 0801 be received. And do we want to discuss it or just file it? Are we okay with it?
I'm good.
Resolved that council correspondence item number 0801 be received and filed. All in favor? Thank you. There are no petitions. Moved by Councilor Moffat, seconded by Councilor Arrola. Resolved that the minutes of the meeting of the Thunder Bay District Board of Health held June 17, 2020 be accepted as received. All in favor? Moved by Councilor Arrola, seconded by Councilor Moffat. Resolved that the minutes of the meeting of the Thunder Bay District Social Service Administration Board held July 16, 2020 regular and July 16, 2020 closed be accepted as received. All in favor?
Verbal update?
Yes.
Through the chair. We are continuing to monitor operations under COVID, guidelines provided for the municipal service, and the best possible manner to provide services. We ask that the public continue to use phone and email to contact the municipal office at this time, and we will continue to monitor change and give the best possible service we can with what's going on at the time. The province has ramped up. We were doing, in March, we were doing twice-a-week conference calls from the Provincial Emergency Operations Center. Over the summer, that cut back till one call a week. Last week, they reinstated the 2-call-a-week program, just we can monitor changes. With that being said, most of the changes and stuff coming now are taking the regional-based approach, which are the heavily affected areas, Toronto, Peel, Mississauga, and Ottawa. So most of the changes they're talking about right now are based on a regional approach to try and manage the problem. I'm sure many council, I actually forwarded an email, but may have seen the media coverage on Friday, October the 9th, regarding improvements at the corner site of Highway 614 and 17. We have been in preliminary discussions with the MTO about developments at the corner. The last conversation we had with them is they were getting architect concept ready. Obviously, as council is well aware, we haven't been to council, so we've reached out to the MTO since that time and asked them for current information, and hopefully we can get back to council with a detailed report on what they're looking at, our intentions are with an agreement with the municipality and the corner development. The COVID Community Support Program is wrapped up from the standpoint of distribution, and as we reported to council, $171,200 was dispensed into the community. We've gone ahead and paid back all of that amount except for $45,000, which is still out in the community member hands. We encourage them to get out, get that those funds into our local businesses, and that the program is progressing well, and hopefully we'll be able to complete the program and report that to council. We have started to implement the new municipal logo. We do plan to have an official launch in place. COVID restrictions are kind of hampering some of the ideas we have around that. We have ordered some new municipal flags with the new logo. They've created the letterhead and memos and fax paper and pages and stuff like that for us to use, and put on email salutations and things like that. So a lot of the little stuff that we could implement, kind of a soft start, we've started to do that, and we will look for a manner or program to do a official launch of the new logo when Florence and we can get a program together to get that together for the municipality. So that's my report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Go to the business now. We have administration report submitted by Shelley Ferguson, Director of Community Services, regarding the ICE operation dated October the 5th, 2020. You're on.
Thank you. I'll tremble through this microphone. Through the chair, I've presented an administration report basically around COVID and the ramifications that we've had to move through to create opportunity to put ICE in. We went through it for the golf season. We've gone through it with the hut. We've gone through it with the museum. and now we're looking at ice and how the ramifications are falling out. We had conversation with community partners in an effort to facilitate opportunity, understanding what school was having difficulty with their COVID ramifications and how could we support them. And it was clearly laid out that some school boards can't utilize our facilities based around their COVID rules, policies, and procedures. And some can with special permission, and others can with basically a free-for-all. So we're hoping to create that partnership where we can utilize the community center to support the school board. But that being said, it can't encompass the whole community school board because it's just not an option under the COVID rules. That spiraled into the ICE atmosphere, and so we brought together all ICE users that we could think of, curling, school, and hockey. Hockey inclusive of minor hockey, mixed, ladies, men's. I'm sorry if I've forgotten anyone. I'm still learning the people who are involved. But we had a candid conversation about how COVID ramifications looked in their world. Minor hockey presented a really thorough document right down to having a COVID screener, for lack of a better term. You're required to do contact tracing with any option that you present to public. You're required to do sanitation. You're required to keep logs of all these things. Minor hockey has got everything down to a T. But some of the domino effect of that was we had a new ruling under unorganized group activities. Our drop-in group activity falls under that unorganized ruling. Unorganized is not allowed under the COVID law if you don't have somebody, the owner, and an operator facilitating the COVID contact tracing. Are you wearing your mask? Have you been exposed to COVID? Have you been outside of Canada? So some of those pieces of the puzzle are not quite there yet, and these are like curling's just setting up, looking at how that plays out in their world. Mixed hockey, ladies hockey, and men's hockey has yet to provide any information as to how that looks on paper for them, their policies and procedures. But minor hockey has definitely prepared a well-thought-out document, and we fully support it. So we took their document and went to public health and presented our municipal policy and procedures based with minor hockey. And we got approval from the Public Health Thunder Bay District Health Unit approval. Next step was looking at budget, cost, revenue, and expenses, and how that played out. COVID has cost us money because we had to close down in March. We lost revenue from ski, which couldn't be projected, wasn't projected well in the budget because timelines, budget was approved in July. We were still working through stage 1, 2, 3. 3 finally hit July 17th-ish. And so the domino effect of revenue and expenses couldn't be depicted in budget. Conversation with users into the rec center, ICE-wise, has brought light to the fact that we can't host dances. We can't host tournaments. Even in the hockey world, games are a lot different. It's not a game per se. And I don't want to get into the logistics of how hockey operates. That's their ball of wax. I'm just trying to facilitate based under the budgetary thought process that was presented. And to be truthful, there will be a revenue lost that is not depicted in the budget. Do you follow me so far? Last piece of the puzzle came about 2 weeks ago when Our staff were just completing training. COVID slowed that process down. We couldn't send anyone out for basic refrigeration training that's required to run an ammonia plant because COVID made everyone stay home and Zoom. So the basic refrigeration plant finally became an online option. We got the guys involved in it ASAP, and they were working through the process when we had conversation with minor hockey. At the same time, we had lost an employee. An employee resigned from the community center. So ramifications of that is the union position will run a shift, but I have to, by law, give them time off. And an ammonia plant requires 24 hours, 7 days a week, monitoring. So, a bit of a glitch when you're trying to operate an arena and provide a service to a community. I considered actually enrolling in basic refrigeration training myself so that I could back up the system and support any operations that we can facilitate at the arenas, at the ice pads. But I come to you with the with my admin report. Basically, here's the facts. COVID can shut us down in a heartbeat, whether it's a sick staff member following through with their responsibility. If you are sick, any symptoms, you're not to come to work. So with one staff member currently, we are scheduled for interviews Thursday and Friday in hopes that we can employ somebody ASAP. There's still training process, But currently, with one staff member, if they have any symptoms, they're not to be coming to work. That can have ramifications on operations. So, I come to you with these are the facts. We're prepared to operate. We have Simcoe on tap since July 17th. We had them scheduled. And we've been holding back because we needed to have an open conversation, and I couldn't come to you without facts. Here's my facts. So what we're asking is, could we open with the understanding that COVID can shut us down tomorrow? We could be investing a lot of time, effort, and money. However, the community, I believe, needs the well-being, the physical activity, and the smiles that the kids have, the people of the users all share.
Okay. Before I ask the councillors if they have any questions, could I ask Mr. Granny a question? The money that we received from the province for COVID recovery, did that include any of this money, or will it include this money?
No, that we didn't actually submit an amount for that, what we got from the province. That was a per capita allotment.
Okay.
So we have been tracking, any purchases or anything we made directly to COVID. Chris and I have been talking about the costs of that are related to COVID that are impacting us, and start tracking them as well.
Okay.
So the amount you referred to was 145, Chris? 149.5, and we've tracked up to pretty close to $100,000 of expenditures already. So there's going to be a round 2 opportunity to submit again, so we will continue to track and record those costs.
So these costs that you're talking about could be built into that recovery?
Yes, we would submit, every community is doing the same thing, lost revenues, added costs, extra expenditures, tracking all of those things, hopefully with an opportunity to get some of that back to the community.
Okay. Having said that, are there any questions from?
No, my comment would be that I say we just go ahead business as usual, and if it takes a contractor or somebody in the meantime to get the 24 hours, I say let's do it. The community center's always been a big part of Manitowoc, and I don't think we should let COVID stop it, to be honest. If they come down and say shut it down, that's a different story.
Yeah.
Then we can fall back on the money that we got from the government, and if it goes beyond that, I say the taxpayers will just have to grin and bear it, because that's just part of having a community center. It's part of Manitowoc. It always has been. I do not see any reason why it shouldn't be.
Thank you.
That's my comments.
Through the chair, I agree with Councillor Moffat. We have to have the ice in as soon as possible for the kids in the town. As far as the money goes, what was it, 2 months ago, we were talking about all kinds of reserve funds, surplus funds. We've got nuclear waste. We as a council should be sitting down, because we were supposed to look at it about the future, and so as far as the money goes, there are funds out there, and if we get grants from another system, that's great. But council needs to look at all the surplus funds also, if necessary.
Yeah, well, that was
It's not
the reason.
necessary.
Yeah, that was the reason why I asked Mr. Cranny about could we apply a second time for the costs for this, and we can. So before we take any money out of our reserve, we certainly would want to apply for additional funding from the provincial government for cost of COVID items.
We'll be able to cover the bills, if I may, through the chair. We'll be able to cover the bills. That's not the concern. It's to make council aware that if we do get stopped in a month or something, once we start and get going, we have to have that expenditure. We have to go through the motions. It's a budgeted amount. It's provided for and covered for in your operating budget that you approved for this year. But in light of all what's going on, and then we may have programs that aren't approved or can't operate. So then we have to look at the level of usage. And that was the exercise that Shelley got into, was to talk to the community groups, to look for commitments. And are you planning on running programs? Are you planning on going ahead? Minor hockey's obviously put a lot of work in and plans to very well to do that. You know, some other groups don't fall in that same thing, and we have an obligation as a municipality too to make sure that the right things are happening. So either they provide contact tracing, or we provide contact tracing. Somehow those things are obligated to happen. So that's part of her question tonight, is if it's a thing of getting somebody on our end, it can't be our staff member that's there right now, because they're too busy cleaning washrooms, running Zambonis, flooding ice, doing that. You can't task that individual with that stuff on top of what we're doing already. It's to have somebody else to do that, which was in her report as well.
Through the chair,
Yeah.
if I may. So a request was to employ, to help with the contact tracing and the organizing. Unorganized groups are not just hockey related. Our programs run some unorganized events as well, like drop-in. And so hiring somebody to facilitate that, like we had to employ a student at the Gulf Hut. The girls were upstairs cooking and couldn't manage cooking and contact tracing and disinfecting the carts at the same time. They couldn't be in 2 places at one time. So we've learned from that, recognized that, and are suggesting we're going to need that to carry on supporting.
Okay.
Through the chair, I would suggest, now there's a perfect example of something we could say, there's a direct COVID cost, put it in the tally, and cover that in our application
that's
for
what I was trying to
recovering
get at.
an added COVID cost of operations.
Yeah.
And through the chair, we've got a huge volunteer community here that I was just thinking that these other groups, outside of minor hockey, that have really done their homework, they're run by volunteers as well. And maybe they should be approached in a combination to assist, because I'm sure you'd get the volunteers you need for contact tracing.
In all honesty, the groups have been very forthright with volunteering anything, and I don't see that as being a problem. It's basically just recognizing the ramifications of starting the process and potentially being closed, the domino effect of that, and also facilitating COVID around our operations. I suggested in our conversation, the ICE folks' conversation, could you share documents to make it easier? The municipality had to create so many documents from day one around COVID, policy, procedure, wash your hands, disinfect. I got to create all this package, have it on hand if the Ministry of Labor or Public Health shows up. Here you go, we're ready, I've trained my staff. That expectation is expected for all the users. So I've asked minor hockey if they would mind sharing their documents with the ICE users, and they're more than happy to work with that piece of the puzzle too. So I see the collaboration. It's basically just making sure that you folks are aware as the representatives of the residents. And
Okay.
And through the chair, there was only one other thing of particular interest tonight. I understand the staffing issues. And I had heard that Marathon staff would be willing to come and help as well. As if there's another avenue to pursue, we could pay a guy's daily wage to come up here with their supervisor's permission, of course, and assist.
that would be, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, that's all I had to say.
There is a little bit of logistics to that process, considering union position. I would like to facilitate community collaboration, having my staff go and see how Marathon's doing it, or White River, or whoever, right? We do work a little bit with Terrace Bay, so when we schedule Simcoe, we work with Terrace Bay's schedule as well, which was some of the slowing process, because Terrace Bay was also at the same point we are today, having conversation with council and saying, this is what we'd like to do, we'd like to make you aware, and there are other communities that we reached out to. So we are trying to create that network.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll call the question then. Moved by Councillor Rolla, seconded by Councillor Moffat. Resolved that Council is in receipt of Administration Report CS 2020-08, submitted by Shelley Ferguson, Director of Community Services, regarding ICE operations. And be it further resolved that upon conclusion of Council's review and consideration, direct staff as follows. Council approves the installation operation of the ICE plants, and further that Council approves hiring an extra employee for the community centre to provide management of unauthorized events and provide for the extra employee from the budgeted parks salaries. All in favour? Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you.
I'll call Simcoe.
And the next item is an administration report, FBA 2020-07, submitted by Owen Cranny.
Thank you. This report I bring to you as the airport manager. We've completed the paving exercise, and normally I would have given you a mid-project process, but they went at it pretty fast and had the project started and done in a pretty timely fashion. So they basically moved off-site everything already. So it's been good. We had a operating plan budget of $3.3 million for the project. We've completed the project. We did have to issue one change order throughout the project. Once we got the runway stripped off, there was some soft spots in the runway ground itself that we had to firm up, approximately 910 square meters of area. That was an additional $58,000 to do that work. It was a late Friday night discussion. We're into a $3.3 million project with a $58,000 cost overrun. So I called the mayor, we had a conversation, and we signed the change order that night for the project. So when I did the original calculations on that date, it looked like we would have a cost overrun of approximately over our budget amount of $29,000. Now that we're getting better pricing on total materials used and all the stuff, it looks like it'll be maybe around the $6,000 mark over the 3.3. So we hope in the next few days to get the exact number and get the project finalized for cost. But there is a slight overrun. I just wanted to make council aware of that cost. Plan is to take it out of the reserve fund, where our portion of the project funding was coming from anyway. There's room there. We're in for approximately $180,000, so whatever the cost overrun amount comes to, we would just take that out of the reserve fund, same reserve fund as well.
Okay, so through the chair, you're talking of, after what was budgeted, you're looking at approximately $6,000
Yeah,
up and above.
today the way we are, yeah. For a 3.3 million, normally you'd put in 10 or 15% contingency,
Yeah.
and we're talking less than 10 to
2%.
1% here, so.
That's about
I think it-
2%.
Yeah, I think pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Through the chair, the only reason I was thinking, because it's reserve funds,
Yeah.
could we be looking at all of our reserve funds and surplus funds soon? Because there will be challenges coming up.
Yes. As council recalls, when we gave you the audited statement presentation, that's identified as one of the items that we plan to complete during the next month or so.
Okay.
As a management team, sit down. We have some reserves that are obsolete and some reserve bylaws that need to be looked at, and come back to council with a report, at least to try and clean up the stuff that's redundant or obsolete, get those in. And if there's questions about that, bring those questions to council for your consideration, and give you a good view of where you stand from a reserve fund, reserve standpoint.
Thank you. No further questions? Moved by Councilor Rolla, seconded by Councilor Moffat. Resolved that council is in receipt of administration report FBA 2020-07 submitted by Owen Cranny, acting CAO, regarding 2020 airport repaving capital project. And be it further resolved that upon conclusion of council's review and consideration, direct staff as follows. Council approves the additional cost overruns to be provided from reserve funds 3-1-1000-13117. All in favor? Thank you. Moved by Councilor Rolla, seconded by Councilor Moffat. Resolved that the regular meeting adjourn at the hour of 7:41. All in favor?